Hi guys, it's Kara, and I'm going to do that comparison video I talked about. I mentioned it in my last video about all the goodies from jet pens that I got. I picked up some other options for erasable pens because I wanted to kind of try them out. I figured I had been talking about this Frixion pen for a really long time and how much I liked it, and I thought I would get a few other types of erasable pens to compare to the Frixion, because it seems to be that Frixion pens are pretty much what everybody talks about, and I thought I would just do this comparison so we could see what other options were out there. So all of these goodies were picked up at Jet Pens, and including the paper. And I thought I would just go ahead and use this paper pad to kind of try out these pens. I'm not going to go into all the details on why I like the Frixion pens because I'm pretty sure I did a video on these pens already, and if I'm right about that, I will put a link down below so you can check out that video. I do, however, want to show you how they write, so that's why it's included in this video. So let me zoom in. Sorry about the wiggling of the camera. Zoom in just a little bit so you can see how they write. So this is a Frixion Color Like Pencil erasable pen, which I don't think it colors like pencil, but I do like the way it writes. This is one of my favorite colors, of course, it's the pink. This is a 0.7 Frixion pen. Hopefully you can see that if my camera decides to focus. There you go. And it is, as I said, my favorite to use in my planner. It writes really smoothly. It's, like I said, 0.07. The ink flows really well, there's no skipping, and there are a ton of gorgeous colors. So there's my kind of standard that I'm going to compare the rest of these to. Okay, and as you can see, I guess I should show you that too, in case you guys aren't aware, it does erase, like so. You can see that. This is one of those pencils that has the temperature sensitive ink, so it's really just kind of rubbed out or rubbed away by the heat made from the friction of rubbing this little kind of rubbery plastic piece against the paper. It will potentially come back if you were to like stick this paper pad in a freezer, that kind of thing. The cold temperature would bring it back. It's also something to be aware of when you're using these kind of temperature sensitive pens, because if you put whatever you've written on in a location that's really hot, it could cause the ink to disappear. Again, it would be temporary because you could put it in the cold and make it reappear. But from what I've heard, when it reappears, it's not quite as dark. Okay, so this is another temperature sensitive pen. This is the Uniball Phantom. And I don't know if my camera's gonna want to focus enough for you guys to see that, but there it is. It's 0.5, so it's gonna be a little finer tip than the Frixion. And in this particular pen, supposedly the top of it, the whole thing here, is the part that will kind of rub off the ink. Again, this is a temperature sensitive ink. So let's try this one. Phantom. Let's see. You can see it's got a much thinner tip than the Frixion. Well, maybe not much, but considerably thinner. It's also kind of light, in my opinion. But there are lighter colors of the Frixion pens as well. It's temperature sensitive. Please ignore my handwriting. I'm writing really fast for the sake of the video. So there's all of that. Let's see what happens when I erase it. It erases pretty well. Not so bad. I will say this pen doesn't feel... It writes okay, but not as smoothly as the Frixion. Not bad though. These pens that I'm showing you, the Uniball ones, don't have the best of reviews on jet pens, but I still wanted to kind of try them out and see what they were like. This one's not bad, so if you like a finer tipped pen, this would be an option for you. And of course, if you like a capped pen, this one does post. It's not going to fall off while you're writing, so that's a plus, at least if you like that. So there's that one. Then I have another couple of Uniball pens. These are not temperature sensitive. They actually have true erasers on top. Okay, so if you prefer that, you might like this particular pen. This pen is a Signo. It's 0.5, and it does have a cap, like so. The one thing I did notice about this, and I'm hoping you can kind of see, but notice further back on the pen body is pretty thin, and then when you go to the part where you're going to be holding on to, it actually gets a little bit thicker. Hopefully you can kind of see that with my fingers gliding over that. And the pen does post, or the pen cap does post. It's not going to fall off, as you can see. So let's see how this one writes. And these are new, so I'm just getting the ink started. This one writes pretty well. Again, it is a finer tip pen, 0.5. And the ink flows pretty well. I would say this one actually, to me, maybe feels a little smoother than the Phantom. Now the difference with this one, let me show you before I erase. Okay, the difference with this one is this is an actual eraser. So when I erase, I'm going to have all those kind of little eraser, you know, dust pieces, whatever you want to call them. And I'm noticing as I erase, I'm pressing pretty firmly, erased twice. Let's see, you can still kind of see it. So it doesn't really erase too well. I mean, you can see a little bit of the other ones too, maybe faintly, but that one I think is a little darker. So there are those three. We have one that's very, very different than these. Okay, so these are the ones I've shown you. Now we have this one. This is actually a set that you buy. Sorry about that glare. That is the brand, and it comes with 4 erasable, 2 of what is basically the eraser. They're calling it the Color Killer, and then 4 that are the kind of regular pen. And the inks are the same. There's a reason for that. The biggest difference, let me show you. I made the mistake of putting lotion on my hands right before I did this, so now I'm having a hard time gripping some of these things. Anyway, so the big difference, I'm going to go ahead and use the blues. Okay, let's see. Hopefully you'll be able to tell the one on the bottom. See, there has the red lines there. Can you see those right there? That's to tell you that that is the erasable one, okay? So here's how this system is supposed to work. For those of you that really like this pen, kind of like the fine-tipped, felty kind of marker nib that it has. This is the erasable one, and it writes really well, just like you would expect this type of pen to write. Let's see. These are, they're saying 0.88 on here. And they write really smoothly, as you can see. And they are supposed to be erasable. Okay. You notice it actually says that on the package. So that's the erasable pen. You can see that ink there. Here is the, what they call the Color Killer, or Killa, I guess. And you take this, and whatever you want to erase, let's say I misspelled this word, and I want to cover that up. The whole word. I misspelled it or I used the wrong one. It's gone, right? And you can see the tip looks totally fine. It didn't really change colors. It does feel like there's a little change in the paper, like a little bit of a film to the paper, but nothing that I think would be hugely noticeable. But now here's the thing with this. If I went to take that erasable pen and write over it where I just erased, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more for this so you guys can see this. Sorry about the wiggling. Okay, see where I just erased, right? Here's my erasable pen. You see that? I can't write on that spot. Now I can write up here, just like I did over here. But where I put that eraser, it doesn't want to take the ink. Okay? So let me take that eraser and just kind of clean up those little spots that I just made. So that's where the other pen comes in. Because once you put down that little kind of eraser fluid marker stuff, whatever it may be, you can't use the erasable pen. So if I misspelled it, now I want to fix it, you need to use the permanent one. Okay, see how that works? So again, let's say I realized I made a mistake. I put the wrong letter in there. I erase it. Then I have to take the permanent one and go back in there and redo it. So, totally different technique than the other ones. In my opinion, way more labor intensive than the others. Yeah, I'm sorry about the wiggling. I'm just going to zoom out. But it is an option for those of you who really like this type of pen in your planner. As far as I know, you are limited to these 4 colors. But it is, like I said, an option for those of you that like these. I will, you know, maybe find something to use this with. Maybe I'll just use them in an art journal or something, but would not be my go-to erasable pen. It's just way too labor intensive for me. It's too much work. I would be ruling out this pen because it's not going to work quick enough for me. So that leaves me with these 3 pink ones that I showed you guys. Kind of depends on how fine of a point you want. These 2 have finer points. Remember, this is temperature sensitive ink like the Frixion. This one has an actual eraser. Let me show you that blue one just so you get a different kind of look. Here is the, and remember I just got these pens so I haven't really started them. This one doesn't want to write. Okay, so that's not a very good thing to have happen right out of the... Okay, I think I finally got it started. So there's the blue after I scribbled all over the place. And remember, like I said, it's going to have that eraser stuff left behind. So for me, after having tried all of these, I will be sticking with my favorite Frixion. I still think they're the best pen out there for erasing. I think they have the best colors. There are different versions of Frixion pens. If you don't like a capped pen, you can check those out. And like I said, I think I do have a video on the Frixion pen and why I like it so much, so I will post a link to that one down below. If any of these other pens interest you, they are all found at Jet Pens, and I will put a link to Jet Pens down below as well. You guys can look back over my videos. I am a frequent shopper at Jet Pens. I love all of their stuff, and they have great customer service. So even if you're not interested in these particular pens, if you're looking for stationery products, stuff for your planner, that kind of thing, check them out. And I think that's it, guys. If you have any questions on any of these, let me know. Leave them down below. And as always, I hope you're having a great day wherever you're at. Bye, everybody.